I know what you're all thinking. You're all thinking, oh, guys, what about the healthcare CEO who was killed in the USA? Wasn't that awesome? And all that shows is that Americans, even right-wing Americans, are in fact capable of understanding that there are people who cause immense harm to millions, hundreds of thousands of others, and they understand that when it's someone who does the bad things to them and their friends and their own countrymen, and yet they denounce those who do it to them, to Americans themselves and their allies and stuff. All of that actually shows is that first worlders are more than anything else, that first worlders are enemies, not friends. Like first worlders, like President Sunday said, God forbid anyone shoots Benjamin Netanyahu. Like I would say there's like an 80% chance minimum that he is celebrating the CEO shooting. Literally a week after uploading a video in which he said, God forbid anyone hurt Benjamin Netanyahu.
It's really simple. Murdering people is bad. Okay? It's one of the worst things you can do. And so when someone gets shot whose bread and butter, who got obscenely rich off of murdering quietly a whole bunch of people by putting up barriers to them getting urgent medical care that they need, destroying their lives and those of their families, and causing cascades of misery and death for other people as well. My heart bleeds purple porpoise pus for them.
I have never seen a better example of the labor aristocrat right there. This is a guy who a week ago was telling us, God forbid if Benjamin Netanyahu was to get hurt. God forbid if Benjamin fucking Netanyahu was to get hurt.
He did that against the interests of the Palestinian people. Why? Because if something were to happen, God forbid somebody attempted to harm Netanyahu, the reaction would not be to the Palestinians' favor.
So yeah, this is precisely what I was talking about. That is precisely the example of what I was fucking talking about. Americans, first worlders, Westerners, they understand that when bad people do bad things that murder and massacre, cause immense suffering and harm among themselves, they understand that what that person is doing is so bad. When people celebrate something bad happening to that person, they're fine with it. But Benjamin Netanyahu, well, he's killing Palestinians in the name of the US, in the name of the USA, in the name of the US government, in the name of Israel, in the name of, ultimately, things that do not negatively affect first worlders, things that do not negatively affect Americans, Westerners, first worlders. So ultimately, to harm Benjamin Netanyahu is unacceptable. However, to harm an American healthcare CEO who profits off harming Americans, now that is fine. And that right there is why I'm not celebrating this fucking thing. Why would I celebrate this? All that this reveals is further the corruption and the disgustingness of Americans, of Westerners, of first worlders who understand precisely all of the things that they denounce others as terrorists for doing. They denounce, like Palestinians, they denounce third worlders fighting US imperialism or the imperialism and genocide of American allies. They denounce those people fighting back against people who murder them in more direct ways than that guy murdered his victims. That's terrorism. Yet an American assassinates someone who hurts Americans. They understand that that is bad. They say that it's bad. But they will find excuses to fucking twist themselves into hoops when their own imperial victims do it to their proxies or to them. The fact that they approve of this, yet the vast majority of the people who approve of this undoubtedly would be just like President Sunday right there. Like, God forbid you target like a military commander of a genocide. God forbid. However, shooting an American healthcare CEO, now that is acceptable, that is fine, I understand that. They understand that, sometimes these people, violence is always bad, blah, blah, blah. I mean, but bad doesn't mean unacceptable. They understand that, sometimes in order to enact some sort of punishment, some sort of consequence for the immense violence that people like an American healthcare CEO inflicts on others. But in the case of Palestinians fighting back with violence against American imperialism, against Western imperialism, against their massacre, so that Americans can, it's the bargain that the Americans have is that they get higher living standards, better jobs and stuff. in exchange for not caring about those people. And they accept that bargain 100%. So all that this situation shows to me, it doesn't show like, haha, hell yeah, epic, CEO got assassinated. What it shows to me is further the complete corruption, the double standards, the disgustingness of the so-called American proletariat. And it is once again a pure example, a 100% like great example of the fact that the vast majority of Americans have a ton to lose. They're completely compromised with the system. They are a part of it. And that any sort of liberation for the rest of the world could only come fighting against them, not with them. Because they understand that bad people who murder people are bad, then when they murder them. And that can only mean that, you know, when Palestinians fight back against bad people who murder them in far greater numbers, in far more direct and, you know, worse ways than that guy murdered his victims. You know, they understand that there are situations where that sort of retaliation is understandable, but only for themselves. Because their ideology is not an ideology. It's not a set of principles. It's not a set of standards. It's me, me, me. It's whatever benefits me. Me, 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 my treats, my standard of living. That is all that matters. The healthcare CEO negatively affected the standard of living of Americans, perhaps even they themselves. Netanyahu does not negatively affect the standards of Americans. In fact, if anything, perhaps he raises them even a slight little bit. And that right there makes whatever he does acceptable. And if anything bad was to happen to him, God forbid. Yet it makes the assassination of a healthcare CEO because you know his actions affect them. It is acceptable. It is understandable why people would celebrate that. There you go. That is Americanism, Westernism par excellence. Their ideology is best described as me, 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 me. Give me my treats. As long as I have my treats, kill as many brown people as you want. God forbid if anything bad should happen to Netanyahu. Anyway, so the same guy who said that a month later is celebrating the death of the healthcare CEO because obviously his actions hurt Americans. And like, obviously killing that guy is going to cause like massive repercussions as a result. You know, honestly, my personal opinion is that the USA should deploy the military to protect CEOs. They should like deploy like full fucking Humvee tank convoys, APC convoys, full of hundreds of soldiers to defend every single CEO. So like whenever a CEO goes down the store or something, or goes to like a restaurant, like they have to close down the entire fucking neighborhood, cut off every street, like enact martial law in that area, force everyone to stay in their homes. Like this would be like so bad for America. That's why I want it to happen. Donald Trump, we need the troops in the street to defend the CEOs now. Please do it, Donald. We need the troops now. Deploy the troops in the street. Martial law, CEO defense, APC convoys to defend the CEOs. Shut down everything in a 20-block radius of any CEO's location. Martial law. No one can leave their house as long as the CEO is nearby. Donald Trump, we the people of the world, demand this of you. Show them. No, okay. I want him to do it so that he can show the Americans what it's like to live in an American-occupied country, but I don't want him to hear me say that. So Donald, you didn't hear that, okay? He's highly susceptible to suggestion, so he won't understand shit, okay? Donald, I never said that. We need to defend the CEOs. That's why I want you to do this. We need the troops to defend the CEOs so that no radical leftist Antifa terrorist can kill his better again, like that radical leftist Antifa terrorist did. Thank you, Donald.